let's start this episode off with a fail, viewers. So that was the last few seconds of the previous video, and we're going to get into this. So we're going to kind of get further into the ice world and see what sort of nasty tricks they've got in store for us. But I would really have to say I did manage to complete this world, so it's just a matter of getting the commentary done for these episodes. It's kind of the concept about it. It's just kind of more sluggishness. I've actually had this world done for quite a while, but we're going to have to get that squared away. Because I don't know, it just kind of feels like this channel has become rather sleepy, and I know the concept behind it, but it's been a winter that's just kind of been a sleepy winter, and I think that's kind of the concept about that sort of thing is, it's just been a classic kind of winter. I think that's the main thing about it is, like, last year was more, had stuff to do with things and was a little bit more industrial, but this one has just kind of been more, there's just been snow and kind of you take days off and you appreciate the cold and you appreciate just like the tranquility of it all. I think that's just kind of the situation. It's very similar to this world right here. It's just like snow filled, and yeah, it's just kind of, it's a holiday game. I mean, you look after it, that's kind of the concept. But winter is quickly drying up. We only have like another few weeks of it. I know this is the first video I posted in February, but we're still gonna kind of virtually get through this. So it kind of happens to be the concept there, but yeah, Reggie has been an ass. You know, to talk about him, he's been an ass lately, like he usually is. But he's being relatively calm right now. He's in the other room, so. But yeah, so I picked the wrong world, but we're gonna get forth with this. So, yeah, I mean, really, just because this is an ice world does not necessarily mean every single world is gonna be like the snow-filled ones. They kind of throw different ones at you and that type of stuff just to kind of be able to have. I do like these waterfall stages. These are pretty neat invention. They're kind of an interesting kind of situation there, but yeah, it's just kind of, I'm not even, for the most part, I'm not even trying to get like 103% in this game. I know this game is pretty tough. Like, I know, like, when Nintendo Capri Sun did this LP back in, like, you know, 2012, something like that, that he kind of fucked around and it took him a good while to complete it 103%. I mean, it's just really, this is a tough game. I mean, it's not tough to beat, but it kind of low-key kind of is. It's one that'll definitely get on your nerves. I mean, I think this game was meant for like 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds and that type of stuff, but you really have to kind of have like a certain kind of degree of dexterity about video games to be able to do it. And I think that's just kind of like the main thing. If you're kind of out of the loop with video games, this is not going to work quite as homely, but you know, I am at least somewhat playing Super Mario World right now, and I've got like just the Super Mario type genre kind of being covered right now on the channel, so it's just kind of getting these type games squared away is kind of the thing. But yeah, you can fall to your death in this stage. Obviously, it's a waterfall, but you just would have to say, like, luckily for Dixie Kong having that attack to where she could, you know, at least not get dropped on an enemy or something like that. It's kind of the situation there. So, but it would be good to get at least some of these bonus barrels and that type of stuff. I don't know. It's kind of, I mean, I'm really kind of running out of, I've said this probably numerous times across this saga of project, but I'm running out of like games that I can think of to do in terms of like Super Nintendo games that I can actually complete. I mean, minus like the role-playing game set, you know, games like Chrono Trigger, Mario RPG. I'm not going to probably do Final Fantasy 3, but just somewhat brief ones that are not like 60-hour games I'd probably want to do. But if I can't even convince myself to set forth and take care of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, I'll tell you, I'm definitely going to get bored with Final Fantasy 3 or even Chrono Trigger. So I always get bored with Chrono Trigger after like Chrono's, like, I mean by this stage it shouldn't be spoiling it, but by Chrono's death in the game, you know, to kind of say that's where it kind of gets like I just lose a lot of like drive to want to complete the game after that particular segment of the game. There's a lot of side quests, and it's actually kind of tough to bring Chrono back to life and stuff. And that's just kind of, you know, it's just one of those situations that it's the same thing with Lavos. That's a very tough boss. And it's, because it's the final boss in the game, it's layered. You have to really pay attention to the stuff that you have to do in the damn game. So it's just kind of, I mean, I've beaten the game before, but it's just kind of, it's a very, like, ballyhooed situation, I would have to say. So it's just kind of, that's what I'm noticing about all the Super Nintendo games. They pull out all the stops. Like, they start off so summery and so hop and bop and, like, peachy keen and that type of stuff, but they really turn into like some real kind of riveting things by the end of it. That's how they always start off, is they just have like a bounce to them until you get to like the last 85% or the last 15% of the game, and then that's where they turn nasty. It's just, so many games do that. Like, that's what happened with Blackthorn. That's what happens with Donkey Kong Country 2. That game, like, I don't know if I said this in like the playthrough, but I really almost didn't complete Donkey Kong Country 2 back in 2021 just because of that final boss. Like the boss on the flying ship, after you complete like the Bramble stages, the last Bramble stage in the game, that boss took me like a couple weeks to finally be able to complete, and I almost said fuck it. I was probably about 3 or 4 or 5 chances away from just saying fuck the whole thing and just not even beating that. So this playthrough wouldn't have happened if it would have given me more problems. I was close. I mean, I just forgot. I mean, I beat the game when I was like 8 years old and 12 years old, but it was amazing to me, and me just being in my early 30s from that point, how much difficulty that damn game gave me. So it was just kind of, I just am hoping that the final boss, I mean, I know obviously the final boss, if you get 103%, is going to piss you off. I just would like to hope that at least the standard completion of the game is not going to be an ass clown of a situation. So this would be the nice thing. Because there's some, like the Chaos boss that was like the green robot thing, that really pissed me off. I took a month-long break, good while of a break from that just because of how stupid that boss was, but I don't know if you know that. I mean, once again, this is kind of spoilers if you don't have it. I mean, if you haven't played this 28-year-old game at this stage, but this to kind of say, like, you fight that green robot boss again, and this is kind of the situation about it, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. So, but it's kind of the concept. They know. I mean, the game developers know the things in the game that are going to tick you off and kind of get on your nerves. This really happens to kind of be the thing. So it's just kind of, I just wonder about the people who were like 20, 25 back in 96 when this game came out, just wondering how they were able to do it. Because, to talk about games from the 90s, you did have to kind of have grit for some of these. Like, for the most part, there are video games nowadays where if you die enough times, the game AI will make the game easier so you can get past it, which is a nifty little trick. But I wonder how I feel. I don't like to complain about that because I do like the concept for people who truly can't beat these games, but there is something about like the concept of getting better after playing it 50, 80, 150 times. I mean, I don't have the patience for that like I did when I was like 12, but I still look after it. It's just kind of like there truly are only a select amount of people that can beat some of these games, like Super Punch-Out and Donkey Kong Country 3 103%. Just those type games, Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, especially the games for the NES, that type of stuff. Just, but I mean, that wins all day over microtransactions and that type of stuff. Gaming, I mean, I would just have to say, for people who are playing Fortnite all day, I would say check out some of these games. Pick yourself up a Super Nintendo, mess with Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3, mess with Super Castlevania 4, Contra 3 with a buddy, Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time with a buddy. Guaranteed to have some festive pizza nights with some of that. You'd be pissed off. You'll get pissed, but at the same time, if you're drunk, you may not. You just flip on some music and say, fuck this, I'm getting drunk, and I'm going to throw a party with some women that come through, and that's just what you do. This is kind of the situation. But the Super Nintendo is a classic. So is the NES, but it's kind of happens to be a thing. But yeah, this little project here, it's a lengthy kind of situation about it. It's just one of those, this would really have to say, like, I mean, this is a great game, but it just really kind of aggravates me. The more I noticed it when I was playing this last month, I was just like, damn it, this pisses me off. I mean, in some cases, it pisses me off just watching me play through it when I did. I mean, when you watch versus when you're actually playing through it, you notice the mistakes and you say, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but it's a little bit trickier when it's in the moment. So, yeah. And obviously, if you're paying attention to the gimmick of this stage, you're being targeted the whole time, and that's kind of like the situation about it. So, it's nifty enough. I mean, yeah, they just had some good development thing. I mean, you're just not going to find too many stage development things like this nowadays. I mean, they need to, like, they do have, like, the Cuphead series, and they did Shredder's Revenge and that type of stuff, but they need to do more two-dimensional games like this. I think there's, like, Shovel Knight and stuff like that. I don't know, I didn't mess with an overabundance of those games, but they need to, I don't know, they need to not be digital only. And I don't think Cuphead is digital only, but that game is pretty hard from what I've seen of it. At least that's what Boogie2988 said. He said that game, back when I watched his Francis video of it, he said that game was really tough. So I just wonder. Supposedly they made a Netflix show about that. I wonder about that. I mean, it really did have like 1920s animation style towards it. It was like a cartoon or something, but it's still pretty slick enough to be able to say that. I mean, it felt so fluid for like a video game. I really feel like they should still be making Super Nintendo games. I mean, you would think with the technology they have now that they could truly perfect like the concept of doing Super Nintendo games. They just need to find like the hardware and the software that they used to be able to make video games back in 1995 and then just do it again. I miss Game Boy games. I mean, I know Game Boy obviously by this stage is kind of childish just because, well, I mean, it's childish, but, you know, playing video games on the go may not really be. I mean, I think if they had like the proper game, like if they could make like certain, like a Grand Theft Auto game or something like that, you could probably do it. But that's just kind of the thing, is I miss being able to play games for this machine. I like the Super Nintendo controller, I like the NES controller, I like the Game Boy controls. Some of those, they need to bring those back. And even the PlayStation 1 graphics and that type of stuff, they need to do that more. I just don't know why they don't go backwards and do some more games for that. I mean, I think that they do, but I just don't know if they are legal. That's just kind of the concept. They need to be, you know. I know in particular Nintendo hates that kind of stuff, but Nintendo needs to quit being a bunch of squares. So I saw that they just debated about having like the blistering snow. That was in the first Donkey Kong Country game. That's something that'll piss you off. The particular blinding snow stage, like the first level in the world, does that really badly. It just had a lot of tricks. That was probably the toughest stage in the game, minus maybe Poison Pond and stuff, but this is kind of, yeah. There are some instances where you fight that coin character, and the thing about it is just the fact that you only get one shot, and if you screw it up, you have to do like you have to do the whole world over again, or the whole level over again, which gets annoying. So, but alright folks, I've rambled enough in this episode. We'll try to get more of these as they come out, so subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful night.